This building was holy to the Arabs because it housed a meteorite. No virgin birth here. We got a Kaaba, we got a black building where Arabs worship hundreds of deities. This Kaaba, this black building, is built around a black stone that was a meteorite, that was holy. A holy black meteorite. And they think we're crazy. Come on. A black meteorite in a black building in Mecca where Arabs gather to worship hundreds of deities. Arab tribes, separated as they were, worshiped their individual gods around this Kaaba, which meant that more than 270 gods were being worshiped at that time. One of these 270 gods, but only one among the many, was Allah. He was the god of the Quraysh tribe, who believed that Allah was the only true God. Muhammad was a member of the Quraysh tribe. Muhammad had an unusual upbringing. His father died before he was born. His mother died shortly after giving birth. Muhammad's uncle raised him and taught him the skills of a caravan leader. He was a lonely child, epileptic, who often cried himself to sleep at night on the cold desert floor. His travels took him to the far reaches of the Middle East and gave him an opportunity to learn about many religions of the ancient world. He quickly realized that the Jews and the Christians had a comprehensive faith that made them great and powerful, while the Arabs had only their many tribal gods and were in truth not a unified people at all. Muhammad came into the employ of a wealthy widow named Khadijah. His wife was 15 years older than he was. Over time, the two of them fell in love and were married. Muhammad found himself a prosperous, respected merchant with an adoring wife and a growing family. Yet he was still troubled by the religious problems of the Arabs. He often went to the mountains outside Mecca to pray and ponder the matter of faith. Once, when he was meditating in a cave on the peak of Mount Hira in AD 610, he had the experience that became the foundation of the new faith that would sweep the world. While prostrate on the floor of his cave, one night, deep in meditation, he heard a voice. The voice cried, "Recite!" Muhammad was confused and alarmed. It was a spirit, surely. He could feel its presence filling the cave, or maybe the whole mountain. He believed it was a demon. Did you underline that? He believed it was a demon that came to him in Mount Hira, and suspected it had mistaken him for one of the ecstatic prophets, sometimes called a reciter, a Cain. But he was not, and he had no intention of becoming a reciter. "I am not a reciter," he insisted, believing the spirit mistook him for another man. And for a moment there was nothing, but then in a violent rush, the unseen spirit gripped him and overwhelmed him with such pressure that he thought he was going to die. Now we've got a spirit grabbing hold of a man. He thinks he's going to die. He thinks it's a demon. Suddenly it let him go. There was a pause, and then as firmly as before, the spirit demanded, "Recite." Again Muhammad replied, "I am not a reciter." Yet again the spirit gripped him until the crush was more than he could bear. Release came, and then another pause. Muhammad was angry and frightened and certain the spirit was wrong about him. It was no compliment to be called a Cain, and Muhammad knew it. He was revolted by the thought that this spirit would consider him to be a reciter. Again the spirit spoke, "Recite." Again Muhammad replied, "I am no reciter." And again the invisible horrifying grip that must lead to death. Then nothing. But the voice came again, and Muhammad found that that the Spirit was now, watch me, the Spirit was now speaking through his mouth and demanding that he recite. Proclaim in the name of your Lord and cherisher, who created man out of mere clots of congealed blood. He who taught the use of the pen taught man that which he did not know. These words from the Spirit coming out of Muhammad's mouth. Muhammad felt certain there was some kind of a mistake. After all, he couldn't have learned anything by the pen. He was illiterate. The Spirit was wrong. But Muhammad had spoken the words despite himself, spoken what he did not understand and had not conceived in his own mind. He was, in a word, possessed. It had happened. He knew it. He had become possessed. He was now a mad kahin despite himself. In a rush of terror, he ran from the cave. He found the summit and was just about to throw himself off when the voice came again. "Oh, Muhammad, thou art the apostle of God, and I am Gabriel." He stopped, now more confused than ever, but trying to understand. He was breathless and frantic. What should he do? In a flash, he decided he would go to his wife. She would know. She'd know what to do. She could tell him if he was mad, or even worse, if he was possessed as he suspected. Crawling on his hands and knees, his whole body in convulsions, he arrived home and fell in his wife's lap. He begged her to cover him with a blanket or a shawl, which she did. And now he was even more frightened, because a kahin, whenever they spoke, these ecstatic prophets always covered themselves with a robe before delivering an oracle from the Spirit that tormented them. He had become a kahin. He was terrified. He shared what had happened with his wife and asked her if he was indeed possessed. She assured him, "Rejoice, husband, be of cheer. You will be the prophet of this people." Muhammad knew what that meant, for he was of the Quraysh tribe, a people deeply devoted to Allah, the name that means the God. But this deity was merely one that many worshipped at the Kaaba. For the Quraysh, though, Allah was the primary. And Muhammad knew that if he was a prophet at all, then he must be a prophet of Allah. Still, could he be mistaken? Could he be possessed? His wife protested. "You are kind and considerate toward your kin. You help the poor, and you are forlorn and bear their burdens. You are striving to restore the high moral qualities that your people have lost. You honor the guest, and you go to the assistance of those in distress. This cannot be, my dear. You cannot be possessed." He wanted to believe it, but he wasn't sure. His wife saw the doubt, and it sparked an idea. She'd go to her cousin. And her cousin was a Christian who was wise in all these matters of the spirit realm and would give him advice. She ran quickly to find the blind old man and told him the story. And when he heard what had befallen Muhammad, he cried out, "Holy, holy!" That's why it's dangerous to ask other people if you've heard from God. "By him in whose hands is the soul of Waraka, there hath come unto Muhammad the greatest name, even he that would come to Moses. Verily Muhammad is the prophet of this people. Bid him rest assured." Something in the Christian's words settled the matter. Upon hearing this old man's words, he became settled. Muhammad said he resigned himself. He was indeed to be the prophet of his people, a prophet of Allah. He was reluctant but willing. Soon there were more trips to the mountain and more revelations. They came like clanging of bells in his head, left him shaken and feverish. But the Spirit spoke again and again. This Spirit, this Gabriel, told Muhammad that Allah, the God of the Quraysh tribe, was more than a local deity, more than just one of hundreds, but rather the Lord of creation,